Join us for a full driving review of the updated Peugeot 3008. Here on Autogefühl, your number one resource for in-depth car reviews and your number one community to discuss cars. Thomas in front of the camera, Jonas behind. Here the facelift of the 3008 in exterior, interior and the driving experience. Today with the hybrid, the plug-in hybrid version as well. We had the all-wheel drive last time, this time the front-wheel drive, so we'll also take a comparison right there. Join us now in Full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go. In the front here, the facelift of the 3008 shows a new front grille and is very, cleverly integrated right there. Very dramatic styling. Before it had a separate frame. The frame is gone. It's now more seamlessly integrated and leads over to the headlamp unit. And here also this side element, really interesting how the horizontal shapes lead over to that. This being the GT trim, so the sportier trim, also high spec definitely, with a more, expressive look, and also comes here optional with a black pack. So this area would usually be in chrome. It's in black right here, and there are different elements following throughout the vehicle. Headlamp unit here come with full LED in this GT trim. So you also have, the most sophisticated version right there, and also then with more sophisticated turning indicators. And the daytime running light here now with the vertical blade. This is also a more expressive styling. The length is at 4 meters 45, 14 foot 6 or 175 inches. If you want a longer version for even more interior space, you would pick the bigger brother, the 5008. Here the 3008 comes with 17, 18 or 19-inch wheels here in the highest trim. These are the 19-inch wheels in the black design. And this also fits then again to this optional black pack we have here, because this here would usually be in chrome and it's black here. And also the lower area right here would have another chrome element, which is also just left black here. So here the sportiest, more most menacing style for the 3008. In general, a very modern design here also as well. Round shapes, not a concise dropping line in the side profile. And everything else has not been touched in this facelift here. And once again, a beautiful called Vertigo Blue color, which of course here on Autogefühl is called Thomas Blue. And a very modern rear where the tail lamps show a more three-dimensional lion claw design now. They have been updated right there. High print badge for the plug-in hybrid models. Other than that, they do not differ from the styling that much. And in the lower part, here, massive fake exhaust alert from the Autogefühl fake exhaust police. Two most massive fake exhausts. So this is like the example of how a fake exhaust can be, pure fake. So, and then again, this black pack here with a shiny black element where, again, this would be chrome otherwise in the non-black pack versions. But overall, I think here the 3008 still one of the most likable cars as for the design in the compact SUV segment. Or would you agree? An interesting fun fact, the turning indicators are now in a cascading style in these redesigned tail lamps when you have the highest LED option or then in the high trim. But even funnier, so yeah, that's the other side, Jonas, now. Also a trick. But here, when I use the hazard lights, then they are normal. You see the difference here? Hazard lights, non-cascading, but then turning indicator, this then again cascading. Interesting. Engines for the Peugeot 3008 would either be a 1.5 liter diesel or on the petrol side, 1.2 liter 3-cylinder turbo petrol engine or the 1.6 liter 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine, and that one either pure combustion, or here then in the hybrid drivetrain combined with an electric motor, either just front-wheel drive, then 225 horsepower, or there's also the all-wheel drive version of the hybrid drive, then with 300 horsepower, where you get an electric motor, an additional one also at the rear. But here today, the one just with front-wheel drive, and the acceleration figure here is 8.7 seconds to 1 kilometers an hour, 62 miles an hour. That's about 3 seconds difference then to the all-wheel drive model. So slower, but also less expensive. Let's see. And charging of that 13 kilowatt hour battery, 3.7 kilowatts or optional 7.4 kilowatt. Should of course go for the stronger optional one. And then the pure electric range is up to 50 kilometers or 30 miles, but I say up to, of course, usually then in a realistic figure a little bit less. This is the car key. It's a good quality impression, nothing new, but still good. Keyless entry works right here. Put your hand on the outside to close it, or on the inside then to open the vehicle. Door closing sound. Oh, quite solid, like that. And then here there's soft touch as well. So not super soft, but also not hard. And then gray Alcantara inserts, really beautiful. That's cool. The build quality here in this area is somewhat okay. But here also soft touch here for your arm, for the elbow and so on. Then this Peugeot iCockpit, unique atmosphere, arcade or computer game alike GT trim, and flat bottom is normal, but then also with the GT insert. Volume on the left side, right side then, for example, to pick up the phone. Then you see here, sometimes the steering wheel can block the view depending on your height, but then it's placed really high that you do not need a head-up display. And this comes standard now with the facelift for all the models as 12.3-inch digital instruments. Soft touch here as well. And then special seats, these sport seats, and in the Allure trim, it would be the non-sporty high trim. This would come in fabric here in the middle, and then leatherette, so all animal-free and on the outside. And in the GT trim, it comes with Alcantara or microfiber here on the inside. And in this case here, because it's a plug-in hybrid, in the grey style. Otherwise, it would be in the dark or just in the black style. And here in the grey style, even cooler, and especially a great contrast to this vertical blue outside color. So beautifully done, very beautiful design, and indeed they're also quite comfortable. They also fit well with tall people. One means 86 or 6'1", and here enough headroom is left, and you find a nice seating position here. Then the steering wheel is a manual control. Some things of the build quality is, the steering wheel control, how you feel, the steering wheel and move it, could be a little bit better. And also some parts in the middle console. But then again, the visual aspect is really fancy because it's so unique, and especially, of course, with the seats, as I just told you. So good comfort here, compact SUV, and you find a nice seating position. Have also a good overview here. So I think this very well speaks for the car. With the blocking of the instruments a little bit in the lower part, but that's also something you can live with. And you can see here, one of the few options that is left in the GT trim is the focal sound system for even more sound boost. Now to the interior overview. See here, this is more or less soft touch, contrast stitches, then the beautiful grey microfiber insert right there. So it's a really cool styling. Then this cockpit style here with the hotkeys, so you can access the GPS and so on. Apple CarPlay or Android Auto connection is available. Still a manual volume knob. And soon more deals to that screen. You start with an 8-inch screen. This is the new, bigger 10-inch screen that comes automatically here in the highest trim level. Once again, look at this tiny steering wheel and the digital instruments. Also soon more deals to that. With the close-up, you can see here this arrangement of the iCockpit. Then in the lower part, you have charging, USB-A charging for your smartphone, or connection also for the interface. But there's also an inductive charging pad right here where it lies, and enough space for bigger smartphones as well. And then you have here the shifting lever, put it backwards for the drive mode, or once again more for the B mode. Then you have more recuperation here in this hybrid model when you lift the throttle. Otherwise, just use it via the brakes. Driving modes are available right here. So we talk about that when we drive the vehicle. Then adaptive cup holders, this is actually well done. So different bottles fit in there. And then this split opening, we know for example from Mercedes, again, soft touch material is really nice for your elbow and so on. Then you have split opening with reasonable space here. So hardly any other vehicles have so much space than right here. And then the Apple CarPlay integration looks like this. And this optional focal sound system is, I would say it's okay, but also nothing where I would say like, oh my god, this is amazing. So not sure if it's worth the upgrade. It should be better than the standard sound system, yes, but it's not that I would say you have to go for it. So yeah, if you like music, of course, better again than the bass sound system, but maybe a little bit disappointing, but just a little bit. Here, a 3-finger trick always gets us back to this hidden main menu, which will only exist in this way then. Climate menu, this one of the drawbacks of this vehicle. No manual climate knobs. That's the thing here at Peugeot and Citroën at the moment. Yeah, when you are at 22 degrees Celsius guy, AC on and leave it automatic, you won't care. All others will. Then again, here the GPS system, which is still somewhat outdated. So you get a bigger, more fancy screen, yes, but the GPS here looks rather like from the 90s still. So not convinced with that one. Overall, the system, however, is quite easy to use. Most of the time, you would probably use it for the CarPlay. Here the vehicle menu for some settings, but then there's also a special charging menu with a separate hotkey where you can, for example, see how the energy flow is. Here in this case, just with the front electric motor as well, you can set the charging time, or here this e-save mode. This actually allows you to use the energy then later, so that the normal combustion engine charges the energy or holds it at a certain level. Not efficient, might be useful for so-called emission zones at some point, but usually you would, drive this car in a hybrid mix, or then again try to commute all electric during the week, and then longer trips on the weekend maybe then with the combined drivetrain. And now the digital instruments. It's not the three-dimensional cockpit yet, which we've, for example, seen in the all-new 208, but this is actually well usable here, and GPS view all over the place, very nice integration, and then you can also pick some different other stylings here. The build-up of the visualization always takes some time. I think a little bit less show would have been better in this case, but overall I think quite cool, and then you can just pick the style you really like. Now to the rear compartment. Let's first take a look inside. You can see here, once again, gray Alcantara inserts, and then this and the hardback in the rear. I think we can excuse that more or less here. Soft touch then for your elbows. That's the most important thing, and you can also see the gray microfiber design here for the rear seats. So really a very nice design, and once again animal free. You can see that also works to make it very attractive. 2 USB ports in the rear, in the middle console, and then here, as for your legroom, this is when the seat is all the way down. So it works, but you see it would be better, or you need to put it a little bit higher. So the front seats need to be higher, that I can put my feet underneath the seats, and also here then that my knees fit in a better way. So this is something to remember. Just tell the driver, put the seat a little bit higher, and then you can very well also fit in this recess here. Other than that, the seating position here in the rear is actually fairly comfortable. There is the optional panoramic roof here. This works in a way that my hairs are about to touch the ceiling, so it directly works, I would say. A little bit more headroom than when you leave out the panoramic roof, but other than that, it's actually a good position here. And since this one here is a front-wheel drive platform model, and when you have the all-wheel drive with the, with the plug-in hybrid with the all-wheel drive, it's via the electric motor in the rear. So you don't need a mechanical link here from front to rear axle. And so this is also really nice, almost like in a pure electric vehicle. You have no middle tunnel right in here. Then again, the USB slots, and this makes it easy to, switch it around here also to the middle seat in the rear. And yeah, it's of course a little bit harder as for the surface, but that also works then with 3 tall adults here. Again, easier when the front seats are put a little bit higher. The thing is here with the passenger seats, that's the way it is. And there you can see how much difference that makes. I can easily put my feet underneath then, and then also here the knees fit even better in this recess, and you have more leg room right there. Isofix at the outsides each, the child seat installation, and then we can fold 1/3, 2/3 split here. But you can also see there's also a ski hatch available. So when we put this one down, we have couples, but they are very shallow, non-adaptive. So the kids could spill a lot here, definitely. And then here, this is then the ski hatch where you can reach through the trunk. And now to the boot capacity. Electric hatch right here, 400 up to 1,350 liters. And you can see here, nice square dimensions. Length here is about 90 centimeters. Width here, this is well in a meter, a little bit more. And here even more than a meter, so that's very well done. And underneath that cover, 47 centimeters. And you see there's no compromise here for the plug-in hybrid version. Here you have the charging cable, so also a clean storage underneath this box. And again, no compromise here for the PHEV version. And let's put in some luggage that you can see a little bit better here as for the sample luggage like this. And well, to fold the seats, you can reach over here, that's possible. This would be then the maximum setup. And then we can also show you to the seats as we would be driving. See here, they do not fold that way all the way flat. A little bit flatter when you put up the head restraints, of course. And this is then here, almost 1.70 meters. So it's not such a long vehicle, but very well usable. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the Peugeot 3008 Facelift. Here today with the hybrid, the plug-in hybrid, and today with the front-wheel drive version hybrid, 225 horsepower. So as I said earlier, there's also this all-wheel drive version available. We tested earlier. You can check out the video description for that link. We'll just have more punch, about 3 seconds faster in the acceleration then, but we'll see how that one is sufficient or not. Here we're starting in the pure electric mode. I have set the car starts in the pure electric mode because I have set it hybrid mode. And in hybrid mode, the car, says, when we're just cruising here around, that's fine. You can also see it here from the drivetrain. As long as all is blue, that's in the electric. So when you don't need big acceleration, you have enough power in the battery, drives electric. Here now the projected range, all electric, is about 30 kilometers. It's not 100% full, but still you can see 50 kilometers and 30 miles is not that realistic. More like 40 kilometers and like 25 miles is a more realistic figure when it's really fully charged. And then as soon as I leave the throttle, here in the D mode, car's rather rolling, or when I hit the brake, then we have some recuperation. Also see it here in the charging meter. And the alternative would be putting the shifting lever backwards, then we are in the B mode, and when I get off the throttle then, the car is recuperating a little bit more. And to me, that's the more helpful solution for the plug-in hybrid or for electric driving using this recuperation, because also in the combustion engine models, you would have an engine brake, and that also comes a little bit closer than to a normal feeling than just rolling. Rolling would be more efficient in general, but the thing is, when you lift your foot off the throttle, in most situations, you also want to decelerate at some point, At which degree, that's another question, but you most of the time want to decelerate. And then it also makes sense to just, recuperate immediately. It's also a safety thing that the car gets slower a little bit, even in the moment you switch from your throttle to the brake pedal. Here the steering feel is always unique with this iCockpit, small and light, no natural feeling, but it's still fun. So it doesn't give you, again, the most natural feeling, but it's quite direct still. It's fun to steer it around, and again, arcade style, that you just feel like, in a simulator a little bit. Well, it doesn't disconnect you that much from reality, from the driving, but it's just very unique, a lot of fun, but not natural. So depends then if you like that or not. But it's always, at least entertaining to use that, definitely. Here, when we accelerate a little bit harder, it's still staying in the all-electric mode, so that's still fine. And if we would press it even harder, there's like a threshold in the pedal, and then also the combustion engine hops on. But you see, here's also, now it went on because we've been running uphill, and the car obviously said like, when it's going further uphill, maybe the combustion engine would be good then. Here now again, the yellow element went away. Now we're again driving all electric. You see in the hybrid mode, the car switches back and forth depending on its liking. Sometimes there's the questions, is that really useful? Is it like good for the combustion engine? And I wouldn't necessarily say so, but the plug-in hybrid models usually also use some special parts that make, the parts that are used in the PHEVs a little more durable to prevent that from happening. And I talked to engineers from different brands, and they actually said that, they have this effect, But then again, at the same time, you also have the electric motor, which buffers these really high torque peaks. And this again is then good in preserving for the combustion engine. So overall, they said that they don't note any more failures with plug-in hybrid vehicles than they do with pure combustion engines. Now again, the combustion engine went on. And the alternative to that would be selecting the driving mode and set to the all-electric mode. Then, for example, here the combustion engine goes off and you really stay in this electric mode unless you really hit the throttle, then it also pops to the combustion engine mode. And then the alternative to that would be the sports mode. Then most power is used combined. Here the combustion engine always hops on. And then I have both power combined. I'm not doing that here because of the beautiful cows now. Don't disturb them with a big acceleration. We can soon do that. So here's sports mode again. Maximum power, maximum acceleration. Let me show you some like 20 kilometers to like 70 or something. Plop, that's it. That was already 75. So here reasonable speed, reasonable performance. The all-wheel drive model would here, of course, have the better kick, but you can see here with the 225 horsepower overall, you'll be just fine. This is really enough as for the performance. So I think when we think about that, we have about 5,000. I just go left. This in this case easier. So 5,000 euros extra for the all-wheel drive model, and you really have to think about, do you really need an all-wheel drive system and do you need the extra punch? This one will be fine power-wise. The all-wheel drive model, of course, is a little bit more fun to drive because it also gets you some push from the rear, a little bit sporty in the behavior, and then also when you have some snowy conditions and so on. And to me, most important, when you're on the motorway and have some acceleration when you're already at speed, then it also gives you a better drive. However, the electric drivetrains are not there for like really, really high speeds. So more than, for the, lower speed punch when you start an acceleration or something. Therefore, it's quite helpful. But definitely you can live with that. Most of the time, I would leave it just here in the hybrid mode, and you don't care about the rest. They do favor the electric drivetrain until it's depleted, more or less. It's also a matter of philosophy. Some, like the VW plug-in hybrids, they always start in the all-electric mode. Audi has a different philosophy. They more try to use the combined powertrains, for example. And what is better? You can't really say. It's more about when do you recharge your vehicle and when not. So this then also depends if that's fitting to the plug-in hybrid philosophy of each brand. Here again, in a slalom style, a lot of fun, direct, precise from the steering. Again, no real feedback from the road, so no connection to the road, but still a lot of fun. And it's a compact SUV and it feels quite sporty here with the 19-inch wheels especially. This is then wheel-wise the best contact to the road. However, it can reduce the comfort, of course. So far with its suspension here, standard suspension, there's just one available. I think I'm quite fine with that. But if you want more comfort, then you would go with smaller wheels. So 17-inch wheels are definitely more comfortable. The 19-inch make the car feel or drive sportier then. So you can, you can just think about what's the more useful thing for you right here then. So if you deplete the battery completely and drive pure combustion engine only, you always call a bike like 7 to 8 liters on 1 kilometers. So something 30 mpg US, something 40 mpg UK approximately. But if you have the battery power, then either you drive all electric, of course, but if you use the combined drivetrains, you can also score some consumption things like 2 or 3 liters on 1 kilometers. What is the very concise combined consumption? You can never really say, because it really depends on how you use the vehicle and how often you recharge. And then the energy consumption and the fuel consumption is also going back and forth depending on which drivetrain you use more. Noise insulation wise, I think very well done. Here at the moment, by the way, we have 5 liters on 1 kilometers because we've used both drivetrains and also had its one acceleration. So noise insulation is good. Here at about 80 kilometers an hour, we can also go to 100 or 60 miles an hour then. And so it also works well on the highway. And again, this is not the biggest compact SUV, but it's also not the smallest one. I think it's a very interesting size because you can do anything with it, you know? So it's not too big, but also not too small, has enough space on the inside, and just drives, in a very nice and calm way. So you always have good control over the vehicle, and it feels actually quite sporty indeed, and more so as the electric vehicle, because even though the electric motor here is not the most powerful one, you always have instant torque. There's no classic power curve like with the inbuilt combustion engine here. So when you're on the all electric mode, it's always a lot of fun, and the silence also fits then very well. So if you just think about, what is the coolest experience, it's definitely that. Let's go to the all electric mode and show you the acceleration here. Let me see. I first go to these power meters that I can see when I accelerate the threshold for the all-electric driving, so I can, better fine-tune that. So here, for example, now acceleration. Flip, 60 kilometers an hour, so it was like 30 kilometers to 60 kilometers. I could have been a little bit faster, but I want to check that I don't exceed the threshold for the combustion engine, because here, when I really hit it all the way through, push the throttle, the combustion engine is on, we have the combined acceleration. Sounds a little bit aggravated, not too good in this case then, but most of the time you wouldn't use the car in such a way. But you can see here, for safety reasons, even if you are in the electric mode, even if you intentionally use that one, there will always be then the combustion engine hopping on when you exceed the certain threshold. Once again here, then, I just felt in the throttle at a certain point there's like an additional resistance. Then you push it all the way through, then also combustion engine hops on again. But most of the time I would, when I can recharge frequently or at work or at home and have short commuting ways a day. In Europe, by the way, the case is that like 80% of daily drives are less than 30 kilometers. So for an average European customer, this electric range would, in most weak cases, be already enough. Can also be, some more electric range, wouldn't mind that at all, definitely, but it's already quite cool. And beautiful landscape here for you today as well. We always like to combine these rides with a beautiful landscape, so you can also enjoy these nice corners here. And I think overall, also driving-wise, very well done, this vehicle. It's definitely one of the dream Peugeots, here 3008 as GT, and then also as a plug-in hybrid. You can have some governmental benefits if the PHEVs are being subsidized in your country or your state. So that would be something. And of course, the all-electric driving is just fun. And here, going downhill, for example, B mode, recuperation is being used. If I want a little bit less recuperation, I just step on the throttle a little bit more. I don't accelerate, I just reduce the amount of recuperation. So it's also the other way around, you know. So either being on speed using the brake pedal, or then being in the recuperation and using the throttle pedal to reduce the recuperation. So it works both ways depending on what you desire, and yeah, definitely works quite well. And once again, a lot of fun to drive the 3008 here. Such a unique setup from the vehicle, and also good and very well balanced in the handling. And now to our conclusion for today with the updated Peugeot 3008. In general, it has a very fresh look, but here even more so in the facelift, a sporty look. So with the GT version and the optional black pack, this very vehicle here, the sportiest look for the 3008 so far. And the facelift even has made it sportier with this new front grille. And when you look at the interior with the infotainment system upgrades, there's a little bit, bigger than before, so also nice interior upgrades. Driving wise, the sportiest there would be the all-wheel drive version of the plug-in hybrid. Just has more punch, especially when accelerating on the motorway. This year, the plug-in hybrid as a front-wheel drive only also just does quite well, and it's the base technology the same, but then without the all-wheel drive. So yeah, the difference then 5,000 euros in the price. So yeah, really have to think about, do you need the all-wheel drive? Do you have situations where you need all-wheel drive? And how much punch do you really need on the motorway? This here is sufficient for the vehicle because you always have the electric boost just on the front axle. The all-wheel drive then, if you really want more punch and can also afford to give the money for it. The pure electric range could be a little bit higher though. Other than that, it's really always just in pure enjoyment to drive this one here in the all-electric mode. Just not that long is possible. Really nice also with the grey Alcantara seats, especially coming here for the PHEV versions. These are one of my favorites. Here some parts in the interior could be a little bit more, premium as for the feeling, because if you think about this car as it stands here right now, about 50,000 euros, one of the, top spec Peugeots overall. And then we could expect maybe a little bit more here and there. But overall, still a very well usable car, also for the interior space. And once again, this very unique interior setup, which is still very unique overall on the market. What do you think? Give us your opinion here about the Peugeot 3008 with the facelift here. Do you like it? Do you like the changes? See us in the comment section, and also see you at our very next review. Goodbye.